Morning traders, Paul here with GammaEdge. Today is Monday, the 17th of April. Let's get started. Pause your players here, read to the very bottom. If you agree, hit that play button. Summary for today, a little more red than we've been used to seeing. The short-term model is flipped back to a downward move. The long-term model remains mixed. Couple things to note here. We've been whipsawing back and forth on the short-term model. We do a couple days up like a drunken sailor. We fall back one. We do a couple more days advance. And so we are mindful of reversals and whipsaws, which are highly likely. Remember that. The market model, only the ARCX cumulative tick, and we use several here, has confirmed up. The cumulative tick is above the ribbon. You'll see that here shortly. This is a longer-term bullish signal. Everything else is either lagging or is down, so just be aware of that. There is we are rallying within an overall downward umbrella, downward pressure, and we could fail very easily. That doesn't mean don't play the upside. In fact, the structure is very supportive of playing the upside to 4200 SPX, but just be aware it's not a broad participation. We can measure that. We have our 52-week new high, new low indicator, and the new lows are still outpacing the new highs. We have periods where this is not the case, but in general, the last 30 days or so, the new lows have really been dominated. 279 on Friday to plus 154. That's pretty strong to the bearish side of the table. Zero DTE, folks. Pay attention to several areas. The 4125 downside line in the SPX appears to be the dominant sensitive strike. I want you to think that if we lose below that, we could start accelerating pretty quickly down into 4100. We are not expecting to drop below 4100 today, so that's the good news. To the upside, 4160 is not bookending the structure, and what we mean by that is we like to see really nothing above a dominant right side goalpost. 4200 is that right side goalpost, so we've got a lot to plow through. If we take 4160 from below, you're going to see a lot of open interest and the charm flows really start to push us upward, but it's not going to be a straight shot. There's a lot of pausing areas between 4160 and 4200, so just pay attention to that. If we don't take 4160 from below, expect to bounce in this tight range of 4125 to 4160. So if we drop down to 4125 and it holds, you could play to the long side. If we go up to 4160 and it is overhead resistance, you could play it to the downside on a very, very short time frame. I know this is a very tight thing, and I know it's not going to make everybody happy, but that's kind of how it works. Don't shoot the messenger. Taking a look at the cumulative tick model, this is a composite view. So for those of you who are new, it really overlays three different types of signal indications. The first one is this green and red arrows. This is the shortest term. It's very quick, zero DTE type trades or end of day type trades. And you can see 3 days up, 1 day down, another day up, another day down. This is the whipsaw that I'm talking about. A little bit longer is something we call the railroad track pattern. You can see why that is. When we're in an uptrend, you get these nice divergent moving averages. I've circled and X'd where they first turn off from the previous signal, so just be aware of that. So this downward signal turned off here, started to go up, and then it turned off, and then we can resume. Tests a little more favorably, keeps you out of the trade until you get a new entry signal. Just be aware on Friday the railroad track pattern turned off, so we are down. The longer term view here is what we call the ribbon. We're above the ribbon, and so the slopes of the ribbon are up. That's a good thing. That's bullish. We are watchful to see the bolded white line, which is the cumulative tick, remain above the ribbon. If we get a reversal to the upside and continue moving, we will continue our long stance. But if we start cutting through the ribbon, we'll start decreasing our long delta exposures and increasing our short deltas. So just be aware of that. Taking a look at gamma on the ES, really only one thing to note here is that plus trans is down a little bit from the 4530 level down to 4510. When plus trans, which is that level at which it and all the strikes above it are net call dominated, From a gamma perspective, it indicates that calls have gone in or puts have been closed, pushing things down. And this is good. This is bullish, but you can see everything else is pretty stationary. It's unchanged relative to where we started Friday. And when things are unchanged, you might be kind of in a coasting mode. So just be aware the ES is not necessarily confirming the full bullishness, although we do have one indicator that is positive. Strategies, what we're watching, TXN for an entry using the 0 to P-trans entry criteria. Bank of America looking at P-trans to P-GEX, and then GEX ratio, not seeing really anything that is attractive to us today. And by the way, these would be contra-trend entries. They would be going against that downward CT that you saw here. So if you do take these positions, I would not get very big, and certainly be ready to exit out of those things. Taking a look at the PM-settled complex in context of gamma, very strong overhead. We consider the PM the tradable. We see most of the 0 DTE action in the PM, which is why we separate it out. We're the only company, I think, that does this. Why that's important to you is that the PM settled trades differently, very differently than the AM settled. And won't go into that here today, but just be aware if you don't separate the two, you're going to probably have some mixed information out there. That stated, when we have green overhead deltas like this, above spot price, which is the yellow line, out of the money puts are in a minority, or excuse me, out of the money calls are in the majority, and in the money puts are in the minority. So the speculators are in the majority here, and they are controlling our upside potential. Downside is in the money calls. When we see nothing but a sea of green here, this is telling us that the out of the money put speculators, those folks who are thinking about moving to the downside, are in the minority. And when we have this type of structure with out of the money calls and in the money calls, this is a very bullish structure, and want everyone to be aware of that. The 0 DTE for today, as I said, very, very tight range, 4160, 4125. You can see the overall sensitivities on the gamma. Just pay attention to that. If we break above that 4160, we could push higher. If we break down below 4125, we could push lower. Don't think we're going any lower than the 4100, as I said earlier. When we take a look at the 1 DTE, which is the view into tomorrow, first of all, it's incredibly weak. Don't read too much into a weak structure. Tuesday, Thursday still remain fairly weak relative to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The transition range that we're looking for potential overnight parking is defined here, 4120, 4135. Also want to call out this little structure right here. This is what we call a parking zone, or a potential parking zone. This would be an area of low gamma and low delta overnight, so just be aware of that. And the same thing up here at this 4140, 4145 area. Very, very small levels of gamma, very small levels of delta. We could very easily see us parking in these ranges into the overnight. The only other thing I want to call out to you is that we've got a strong low of out-of-the-money puts coming off tomorrow. When we see that, that strengthens the structure underneath us. We like to see this. We like to see red deltas come off in these short-term expiries. When we see the red deltas come off, that exposes or strengthens the call structure below us. Taking a look at the crystal ball view into the week, this is where we turn on all the expiries for the week and aggregate them. Very, very tight structure, which is indicative of a real battle setting up here. And this is the SPX AM and PM Combo Complex. So this is what is really vaporizing this week. 4,200 upside, 3,100 downside, 4,100 downside. But look at the structure here. For the underneath us, we have a lot of in-the-money calls, which are dominating now. Now remember, these are coming off during the week. So these in-the-money calls, as they come off, could weaken the structure, and the only way to replace that generally is that the out of the money becomes in the money as we move up in price. So just be aware of that we potentially could see a weakening throughout the week. Now that being said, as we move north here, this is pretty solid all the way up to about 4,200. We do have some in the money puts which are visible. That's the red deltas that you see here. So for the week, we don't have a lot of out of the money call speculation going on at these strikes for the net. Now, this being stated, what we want to see effectively is we want to see this structure remain intact, which will mean that the 0DTE call folks are replenishing what is coming off on a day-over-day basis, and we also want to see that the weekly view continues to remain green above us, which paints a path to a call domination below us and a call domination above us. That will be still expansive in the overall market. Finally, taking a look here at the SPX Combo, which is the AM and the PM, just like on the previous slide. You can see it's a sea of green above us and a sea of green below us. This is decisively bullish. Until the call speculators in the out-of-the-money side start giving up hope here, and we start seeing some of the in-the-money puts start to come through, this is a very bullish structure. And so overall for the week, we're in pretty good shape. Things could change as we get into the end of the week, as I just said in the crystal ball view, but nevertheless, this is very, very strong. We are mindful of a couple nodes that are developing below us. If we do get weakness into the latter part of the week or into next week, we could see these actually start to develop as the new transition zones, as we drop down and as things become weaker. We'll have lots of indications that that's happening, though, but just be aware we are tracking that. And then finally, just want to call out the landscape structure. Very odd, very large, 4,200 right goalpost here. This is plus GEX. We don't normally see this type of strength, especially on a Monday. So clearly, the out-of-the-money call speculators are targeting a touch of the 4,200, and just be aware of that. The 4140 line is really the line in the sand. If we drop below 4140, it starts opening up this kind of loosey-goosey transition range down to 4100. If we lose 4100, there is a last stopping node right in this area, where we still have net positive gamma at 4075. Below 4075, it's lights out. So just choose your poison and choose it carefully. Just want to call out here that we do have the JPM end of month June short calls already starting to rear their head. These are not liquid, but they are obviously present and accounted for. And as we've seen in the past, these can continue to grow and become an upside node area where we could pin. Finally, minus GEX is down here at 3,800. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, comments, want to come and kick the tires, join us at GammaEdge.us. In the upper right-hand corner of that web page, there's a pricing tab. Click on it, fill out the blanks. Come on in for a 14-day free trial. All the tools turned on. And ask your questions. We've got a great group of traders, very active in a voice channel, very active in the chat channel that goes with that. Everyone's calling out what they're seeing. It's pretty fun. Follow us on Twitter at GammaEdges with an S, and then here on YouTube. Two things. First of all, if you like today's commentary, thumbs up, smash that like button. Gives me immediate feedback that I'm providing content for you. And then second, subscribe, because Taylor and I post videos and we want you to see what we're seeing. So with that, I bid you farewell. Make it a great week. Be safe, and hope to see you in the Discord. Thanks, everyone.